Hey everybody, it's Curtis with KTF, and today we're going to be doing the tournament recap from June 9th to June 16th in Tekken 7. We have 14 different tournaments that we have to recap on that occurred last week. If you want to jump to a specific chapter below, go right ahead. This is what the calendar looked like of where these tournaments actually took place during the week. So if you're interested in any of these tournaments, you can start checking either on SmashGG or Challenge to see when you can participate next. First tournament we're going to cover is the ICFC. They had their Season 2 finals over this past week in which the players accumulated points throughout the season, and then they were slotted into a double elimination tournament, so only 8 entries this time, but all of them were really tight, really great games. Ultimately, Cuddlecore came back and won it versus Shadow after Shadow beat Cuddlecore just once and had to reset the bracket in the grand finals, but Cuddlecore was able to come up and prevail over Shadow, but they play each other for years now and they're very close practice partners, so that match can go kind of either way. So congratulations Cuddlecore, and hopefully you do well on the upcoming Tekken Online Challenge. Next, we have the Thursday Throwdown. This was, again, an East Coast Midwest thing, which is, I still think, holding back a lot of the numbers. We only have 14 people entering into the event. They were able to raise nearly $90, which is really great for a tournament of this size. And this is kind of the start of, we saw Mac in the finals in the ICFC, but Mac is now going to start going on a big tear with these tournaments. But we also had Armaku, Yoj99, JJ Breeze, all come in and having strong showings in the Thursday Throwdown. So if you're in the Midwest or East Coast area, try to get part of this action because it's a great event and needs to pull up those numbers to the 20s to actually start being a really good contender. Other than the online events, we are starting to have more offline events. So we found this one in Pennsylvania, the Vortex #3. So we missed the first two. But they started streaming the action on the Vermilion series on there. I was unable to see how the payouts were, and there was an entry fee that I would assume was going to the pot. That's where the $70 comes in. But we had really great games of TY, Fat Boy, and Blitz, who this is the first time I've heard of him, but he was an extremely strong contender in the Vortex tournament. So let's continue to see how these players continue on once we start switching from online to offline events. We had Romanjelly's Colosseum #6. Again, Mac came up on top in here. They had a good amount of entries, so Romanjelly's has been expanding extremely well. They were able to have nearly $170 going into the pot bonus split at 50-30-20, which is a really good split. And having 32 entries, they just got into the tier 3 of tournaments for the Tekken Online Challenge. So this was a really great opportunity for players to start accumulating those points. And it has a lot of the kind of powerhouse names entering in this tournament. Of course, Mac came up on top. Ho had an extremely strong showing. Jumanji, Toxic Toro, FDX Alpha, Armaku, Surge, all these players we've talked about before. And I finally actually got to watch Surge a little bit more, so now I'm starting to get a feel for how he plays. But it's a really great event, and there's almost no reason to not participate, as most Fridays are open up. I don't think he's having one this week, but tune in to future Romanjelly events. Then we had our commentary clash #2. I'm starting to like this format, but they're already changing it due to circumstances in the market. But so ChiTek had 3 more commentators come in. Each of them brought a pool of different players, and then essentially they built their teams to then compete against one another. And it's just a fun kind of community event type of thing. Ultimately, Team Health came up on top to win it. So the 4 players split that money, and then all the commentators also nominated a player blitz to split the winnings. And so that was really nice event. Again, I like these types of events because it pulls in usually a lot of talent that we don't typically see in an online setting. And so it's a really great exposure, but we're going to talk about a little bit later of how the Friday format is going to change with ChiTek. But really great event. I highly encourage to go back to Puppy Swarm to watch all the VODs and catch all the action there, since it was a lot of fun. The Evo Community Series started. It was a giant piece of fucking shit. I'm not talking about it. Tekken City Breakdown. So this was the 5th city beatdown, but we only covered it once so far. They did get the opportunity to be a Tekken Online Challenge. Unfortunately, they were unable to get that 16 entry cap, so unfortunately all the players were unable to get any points. But they were able to raise over $150, so we are about $15 per person, which is a really good kind of financial thing. And it's really nice to see that Shinblade came back to win that tournament, but we also have a lot of good names, El Negro and Donnell, coming in the top 8 for that money. And yeah, it's only 11 people. And I still don't know why the numbers are slipping. City Beatdown actually started off pretty high and now it's been tapering down. I don't know if it's just because it's on Saturday and there's a lot of tournaments going on Saturday. But this, for the amount of money that they raise, the quality of content with the commentary and the player base, these numbers need to be up, especially if they're getting the badge for the Tekken Online Challenge. There's no reason to not have those numbers come up and up. Speaking of, we have a lot of leagues that are going on. Iron Sherpa Season 1, number 8 is in continuation. This is kind of, we talked about before, leagues will start with a higher volume of players, and then as the season drags out, it's just naturally going to taper off. So I'm not too surprised that the entries are sitting around 10, and the people that actually already have a lot of points are still competing for those points, because in July, very soon, they're going to have the $1,000 grand finals, and so hopefully all these like 3 months of work is going to pay off for these players. VDX had a strong showing. We see Ho again in second place, Shinblade making a top 3, Toro, Sam, Armaku, Silence, all really great players in a really great event. So I'm still waiting for the big build up in July, but we just have a few weeks around the corner to actually see these finals. It may be a little late to join in for the league to accumulate the points. So at this point, it's almost a spectator event, but that doesn't mean you should stop watching. Then this was a random 2 for $20 throwdown. I like the team format in which it's just 2 players. We can explore at a different time what's a really great number for teams, but this was good because they were able to pull in 8 teams really quick, and it was just for $20, kind of winner take all. The only thing that was a little bit different is that each player was a first to 2. I thought that was a little weird. But the finals were incredible, especially the final game with Joe Crush versus Emily. It was just really solid play the whole time around, and people could say that it was a scummy ending, but I mean that's part of Tekken. I don't think there is anything negative about that. I think it was a really solid decision, and everyone played phenomenally. So if you haven't checked it out, and I don't know if this is going to be a reoccurring account or just kind of whenever they feel like running it, they're going to run it, but we're going to try to cover it a little bit earlier as we know about it. So if you haven't, go back and check the VODs. Team tournaments are actually a lot of fun to watch. Then this is a really small tournament. This was only 6 people, but I know a lot of people are looking for PS4 only tournaments, and this was a PS4 only, so I thought to throw it up. So this was a tournament number 1, which is also probably why the numbers are down, and they were able to raise 65, so they're over that $10 per person mark. They started with $30 in the pot, and then they also had a matcherino that pulled it up, which is the $65. And we only have 6 players here, and Ace Unlimited and Donnell just kind of came in and just, grabbed the bag. Really, this is just to promote for PS4 players. If you're interested, this is an opportunity to play on that system. Cyber Sun City 64 happened. This was another Tekken Online Challenge event. They were able to break that 16, so this is a Tier 4 event. They were able to raise almost no money, which is a little unfortunate, but At least they were able to score some Tekken Online Challenge points, in which Mac again came in strong. Alpha, I think after this event, Alpha was just complaining of just how every single time Mac keeps beating him, but Alpha is still having really strong showings. So that's nothing really to beat yourself up about. I mean, we saw Mac, what, 2 weeks ago really beat up on himself, and then he started to win after that. So let's hope this is the start of Alpha's upswing of starting to take these tournaments. Really great action. If you're able, this is East Coast region locked, so if you're on the East Coast, make sure you're on the list, enter in, as this is another great opportunity to not only get Tekken Online Challenge points, but also fight against some very good talent. The Dreamhack Community Clash also occurred. They were able to start with a really good just kind of pot to throw in to entice players to come in. They were only able to get a little over 20, so it wasn't even considered essentially a tier 2 tournament. Or I'm sorry, it wasn't even a tier 3 tournament. They needed to get to 64 for that, or 32 for that. But Joe Crush had, I mean, a lot of these names we've talked about already. Joe Crush had extremely strong showing. QQ, ArmQ, Ho, and El Poppy, all really great showings in this to kind of take it. And I think Joe Crush was coming off on that winning high of the Crush Bros winning that team tournament before. So let's also hope that he continues on this momentum in the upcoming weeks to not only win these tournaments, but also to accumulate a little bit more Tekken Online Challenge points. The same day we had the Fighting Gameworks. The numbers dropped a little bit, so last week they were actually able to reach a tier 2, but due to market situations they dropped it back down to tier 3. And the super unfortunate thing is that the grand finals was Mac had to DQ himself because he had to go into another tournament. So it was really unfortunate that you had this giant build up to a tournament and then you have to self DQ and essentially have no grand finals. But up to that point, all the matches are really good. And this is essentially why market reasons are occurring is ChiTek is moving their kind of Tekken Online Challenge points to Friday because while they are still, I think, supporting Gameworks is what I understood, they want to be able to really have a dedicated day which the players are able to have that tier 2 and possibly tier 1 tournaments to accumulate points for Tekken Online Challenge rather than compete against other organizations that we're going to briefly just talk about. So the Bud Light League is coming back. Previously they played on Tuesdays as well around that same time format, and this is where they're just very rationally for the players, the money is here for them to get. They had a lot more dollars to be thrown in, and you had a lot of other names. Kind of Avery usually does not play in Gameworks that I've seen. AccuMajor and Joey Fury are also sometimes missing, but they all came in for this event. They had fewer than the Gameworks event, but what I think happened is the amount of players that were in the Gameworks event, enough just decided to play in the Bud Light League, in which it shrunk both of them. So both of them went down to a tier 3, which it is what it is. Bud Light League is going to go on for 6 weeks, and then there's going to be a grand finals in which the grand final dollars are going to be even higher than the $1,000 per week. I'm staying out of the drama. I think I've already made my position a little clear of what happened. And so then ultimately of how all these tournaments ranked based on the dollars to entry, we had to scrub Evo because there really was no fucking information to be found and it was a little bullshitty. So the highest, lowest, and average are all based on the top 12 tournaments that occurred the last week, in which ICFC, City Breakdown, and the Community Clash all did extremely well. And then 4th place was the Bud Light League, and then ChiTek coming in 6th place, and so on and so forth. So all really great events. This is kind of what we typically see. Again, we want to shoot for the average tournaments to be over $10 because that's essentially a $10 tournament fee. And then once we start having these $100, which I personally think should happen more. That's just what's going to happen. And we're going to do something a little new. So I wanted to, for a while, have kind of a player of the week rather than just talk about the tournaments. And essentially the standout player of the week for me was Blitz. He played in 2 tournaments that I saw this last week, in which he both played Haorong and Leo. And I mean, I've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of matches. And when I have something on when I'm working, and a player catches my eye based on the decisions that he makes or the situations that are going on that I have to actually stop working and watch, that's what Blitz did for me. And so that's why he's getting kind of essentially the first player of the week. Completely unknown to me prior, but watching him play and perform was just very exciting to do. And so I just wanted to throw that out, that if he's not on your radar, he's now on my radar, in which now I'm putting it on your radar of really watch this player. And I really hope that he just continues on with this success. Just came out of nowhere for me, but definitely am anticipating seeing his name creep up again and again, especially as we move on to more offline events. We're going to wrap up the Tekken Online Challenge. Again, this was the point distribution, and I have a video, and you've heard me talk about different tiers. Very quickly, the Online Masters is Tier M, then Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4, depending on how much point spreads. Mac is the current leader with the point spreads. Another caveat to the Tekken Online Challenge is they only count the top 4 of the tiers 1 through 4, and then Tier M is bonus points. And so Mac has already scored in 6 different events, so we're only looking at the top 4 of those 6 events. So it's just something to keep in mind. We have not had a Tier 1 tournament yet, in which a Tier 1 tournament is going to award 100 points. So even though Mac is sitting at 120 points, in my analysis video, you need to have at least 160 to 180 to start feeling comfortable. But Mac has already essentially paced himself out of wanting to enter in a Tier 4 tournament unless there's a financial decision in which that tournament pulls in a lot of money, or if he just wants to pull in points. Again, I talk about all that with the Tekken Online Challenge strategy kind of guide. So a lot of these names are still going to shift, as we have, I think we have 9 weeks until the Tekken Online Masters, and then we have 10 more weeks on top of that until the Regional Masters. So there's tons of time that's going to happen for the Tekken Online Challenge. But this is the current standings, and we already see some names slipping and some names climbing. But as soon as Tier 1s come back, which I'm really hoping that ChiTek is able to start having Tier 2s and Tier 1s on Friday nights, that's going to be really amazing. So next week, here's the calendar outlook for next week. We had nothing on Wednesday, 1 thing on Thursday, 1 thing on Friday, a shit ton on Saturday. So here we go. So Digital Havoc is having their other tournament. They're starting with a this is mostly a points-based league that we've talked about before, but they are able to pull in some dollars from their Matcherino, and previously the numbers have been a little bit small. So let's see if these numbers are going to essentially climb up, and this is an online event. ChiTek, I've mentioned this previously. Rather than doing Community Clash, they are moving the original ChiTek, which was on Tuesdays, to Fridays, and they're still staying with the Gameworks on Tuesdays, moving forward with the sole intention of this being a Tekken Online Challenge event that they hope to get to Tier 2 and Tier 1. And currently there's no other competition on Friday. Every once in a while, Romanjelly throws an event, and we've talked about his events being very well put together. But right now, for this upcoming week, I think this is the only Friday event, as Romanjelly is taking some time. I think he's switching to monthly, but I can be wrong about that. But ChiTek, really look forward to this. Really put together. They have 3 people on staff to do commentary and help with all the questions and answers and interact with the chat. So really check them out, and hopefully we can accumulate more Tekken Online Challenge points. The reversal is a monthly. This check it out on Smash GG. A really big thing is the financial incentives that they throw at $500. I think last month Joey Fury was able to take it. But this is a really great opportunity, and it should be really tight competition because of that $500 figure that's coming in, and that's on Saturday. Another event on Saturday was we also have the monthly the ladies night. This is going to be the third one, and I think they're running 4 or 5 for their season 2 until the finals, in which half of the pot that's raised is going to charity, and then 30% goes to the winner, 15 to the second place, and 5% to the third place of the pot. And you can check all that action on NYC Furby. And this is a ladies only event in which we encourage female players to come out and compete. So usually a fun event, and they cycle their commentators, which is also a pretty nice thing because it gives aspiring commentators a chance to participate in this event. We have our first Tennessee Online that's happening. This is a Tekken Online Challenge. I have no idea how many people it's going to pull in, especially with all the other tournaments going on Saturday. But if you are in the Tennessee area, or if you're interested in attempting to accumulate Tekken Online Challenge points, this is another event that you need to have on your calendar to either dual run or just go after those points. IronMANE is also coming back. I think he said he's trying to have every fortnight a tournament, is the last time I heard. But we'll see. This is a Tekken Online event. The payout changes based on how much dollar value and how much entries are coming in. Oh, there shouldn't. I had the previous winners of IronMANE in here. But this is a really great event. Max Ninja does an extremely well job, and I think now he has a few connections that if the entries gets up till over 30, he's going to pull in extra support to help manage that. But this is a really awesome event. I really like his commentating style. So if you are available, this is another possible Tekken Online challenge that you need to go in, but it's also competing with a lot of other awesome tournaments. Another offline event, if you're in the Illinois area, BHOP is doing their grand opening. This is in Vernon Hills. It's not streamed on Max Ninja. I forgot to change that. I actually don't know where it's streamed. But if you're in the Illinois, Chicagoland area, this is a great event to get that offline practice. And all of that will be streamed somewhere, and hopefully in post I'll add in that link. Next, we have the East Coast Throwdown, which is the community throwdown, which is being held on Tuesday. This event didn't have a lot of information yet. This is a Facebook entry, so they don't even have a smash or a challenge, but they're throwing up $500, and whenever we find an event in which the pot starts at $500, I try to promote a little bit. If you're free on Tuesday, and there's other events happening on Tuesday, this is another $500 event. That look for the Facebook group, the Facebook entry, or the Twitter entry, and log into this tournament and try to capture some of that cash. Upcoming events that are not occurring next week, but they're coming up. Everyone knows about Secret Garden. Essentially, the Twitter line is all about setting up money matches pre-hand, and I encourage you to do so. If you are in the Atlanta area, or if you're planning to travel there, just be safe and have essentially all your matches going on. I still can't wait for this event, as it's like the first major event in which a lot of players from all over the US are going to Georgia for the Secret Garden. So I know it's on your calendar and we've talked about it, so we're just going to move on. We also have the announcement of the Austinite Fights, in which this is going to be on site in Texas, in Austin, Texas, which is going to be happening in later July. Just want to quickly mention that it's coming up. The Showdown is also coming up at the end of July in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So again, another offline event. Just have it on our radar. We don't have too much information just yet. Same thing with Summer Jam. We know the date, but we don't know anything else. And the same thing with NEC, that I haven't seen any updated information other than the date that it's being held. So we're still in a holding pattern, but there's many months that are going to occur before we really need to know. And then finally, CEO, when this video comes out, I don't know if they've already extended the entries for all of the games. If not, go to the CEO Twitter to see when he's updating that information. To, if you haven't already registered, they're expanding it a little bit per game to get more bodies in the door. But this is going to be a huge event coming in December. So again, thanks for watching. I know this was a little bit longer, but we had a lot more information to kind of cover up, and just trying to speed it along. And again, sorry about the delay of the upload of this tournament, or upload of this video. It's been a lot of things that have been going on, and we always kind of ended on with the question of, what are you fighting for?